What's up, everybody? This is the Board Certified Gaming Podcast, the number one podcast in the world according to people who were born yesterday.
Smart people.
Yeah, we love you.
No, we don't.
Keep listening. Well, I don't, but I do. You don't.
Speaking of loving babies, I actually had this conversation with the girlfriend the other day. I was like, we should be those parents that, like, I get it. You get that connection with your kid. You love them right away.
Yeah.
But I was like, what if we were those parents who are like, oh, like he or she's so cute. And instead of being like, I love them, like, oh, I like them.
They're okay.
Yeah. Like I don't know
As
them
a
yet.
Friend.
They've been around for a week. I
they're
can't
just
say.
there.
I think we waited like a couple months, like 4 or 5 months before we said I love you.
Yeah,
He just shits and sleeps all day. He doesn't contribute. Like
he's just here.
Yeah, I like him. Like, you don't feel that connection? Like no.
My name is Andy. His name is Amar.
Hey.
This is a video game podcast. We talk about video games, and this is the first one of the year. Episode 20 is in 2020.
It's going to be exactly 20 minutes and 20 seconds long.
No, it's not. But that
20
would be,
hours,
that would be
20 minutes,
great.
20 seconds long.
Way too long. But I mean, if you want to listen to us talk for 20 hours, go ahead.
I don't even want to listen to us talk for 20
I don't want
hours.
to listen to me talk for 10 minutes.
I think we've got 20 hours worth of material already.
We have 20 episodes, roughly. We're close.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Today, we're going to talk about why video games cost so damn much. You know, that's $60 at a pop, though, man. That gets there, and I realize that it's just we're used to it. So, and you might not think it's that much compared to, you know, what you've been paying the same $60 for the last how many years, but at a certain point it was cheaper, and it might even go more expensive in the future. So we're going to talk about kind of the history of it, and then why it is that way, and what we think is going to happen, or if we think it's too much. If you think $60 is perfect, then I guess don't listen.
Wow, it must be nice to make that kind of money.
Yeah, I'm sure your shoes are too tight, the ones made of diamonds. And
this is where we get to put on our Facebook hats and pretend like we're something we're not. So today I am an economical expert.
Yes, we are.
Or economics expert.
There you go. That's what we are today.
BS in economics.
I have a BA in BS, so I guess that'll work.
There we go.
That's a philosophy degree for those playing along at home. So before we get into that, please follow our Twitter at BCG Podcast, our Instagram at Board Certified Gaming Podcast. Fun fact, I tried to change it. BCG Podcast is taken.
By who?
By the BCG Podcast. I don't know what they do.
What do they talk about?
I'm sure their culture, probably, music. I don't know.
Their Twitter handle is the same as the one we add BCG?
Yes, but I don't know what, I'm sure they're great, but I don't know what BCG stands for. They don't mention it. They're just, we're the BCG Podcast.
I'm on the hunt.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but Instagram at Board Certified Gaming Podcast. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/BCG Podcast. If you contribute enough money to us, you will get an extra episode per month that nobody else can listen to, nobody else can hear. So go check that out.
There's patreon.com. A BCG magazine.
That's maybe them. I don't know.
If you search up BCG Podcast, we're actually the second search on
Sweet.
Twitter.
Well, yeah, that makes total sense. They're probably number one. So we got to beat them and get our handle.
But the Twitter handle was just at BCG.
Yes. It's at BCG Podcast. That's their handle, which if you guys are listening for some reason and want to give that up, we'll take it. So we're going to get into why games cost $60. But first we
we're BCG Podcast.
I know. They are too. They have a podcast called the BCG Podcast.
But what's their Twitter handle?
I don't know what their Twitter handle is. I just know what their Instagram handle is. We have...
so it was Instagram that you
it was Instagram.
Oh.
We have at BCG Podcast.
Man, you're making me check Twitter.
I literally said Instagram.
I want to cyberbully these people.
I literally said Instagram. So
did you?
Instagram at Board Certified Gaming Podcast. Twitter at BCG Podcast. Patreon. Patreon.com/BCG Podcast. What? You're not... I don't know what they do.
Well, I'm going to find out what they do.
Okay, you don't need to ask them.
It's the BCG Magazine's podcast.
Yeah, I don't know what BCG stands for. None of them mention it.
I don't know, but it looks like
usually you should put that in the title. It's probably music and culture.
Where brilliant minds connect.
It doesn't help. I don't know. I was looking for at least like a minute.
A lot
of
sports, probably.
Probably. I don't know. I don't want to. I can guess what BCG stands for, but I'm not going to.
Brilliant minds connecting globally. BCG. Oh.
That's sure. We'll go with that.
About the founder.
Follow them. Let us know. I don't know. So we're going to kind of go into the history a little bit. I know this is going to be kind of informative, but hey, you got to learn something. It's 2020. All right. You got to have an open mind and an open heart because we all need to love each other in 2020. Perfect vision.
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Amar's not into it.
Mm-mm.
So
how about this? Mind your fucking business,
there you
2020.
go.
Let's all adopt
Leave
that.
me alone, 2020.
Yeah, don't touch me, 2020. You need to ask for consent to breathe the same air
Yeah.
as me, 2020.
Please get out of my face.
Why are you
2020.
sneezing in the room that I'm in, 2020?
So $60 has been, I mean,
Industry standard.
for a while, like
15 years now?
something like that. They came
Yeah.
out. It was with the Xbox 360 and the PS3 that they're like, all right,
Yep.
$60.
Was that like the 6th generation
Yeah, I don't know the exact year. You might.
of when they came out?
Yeah. the
Xbox
systems.
was November 22nd, 2005.
Okay.
PS3
Shortly thereafter,
was 2006.
something like that. But they came
It's,
out around the same time, and they became.
I think Microsoft had like a. Jeez,
They're
I
always
just typed
close.
in PlayStation 6.
It's coming,
Oh,
right? You
yeah.
heard it here first. PlayStation 6 announced on this podcast. You heard it here. Go tell everyone.
So November 11th, 2006.
9/11/2006. Gotcha.
November 11th.
Oh, 11/11. Sorry,
9/11.
I thought it was
Hold on.
September.
Yeah, so November 11th, 2006 in Japan, November 17th, 2006. So
Usually,
Xbox had almost a full year
damn.
of just the 360 being the only console, next gen console on the market.
Okay. Well,
Kind of wish they would do that with this current console generation
That'd be
because
nice.
I'm very excited.
the point is that this is the time. Every time a console comes out, there's always like, okay, this has a little bit more capability than the last one. This can handle graphically better games. The processor's better. The inside's better. It can be faster, better, faster, stronger.
The outside is boxier.
It's a bigger box, probably. Whatever. That's always usually when the technology improves, you are realizing that, okay, things are going to start to cost a little more. And for some background about how that happened, in order to have your game put on these consoles, you need to pay a licensing fee. So all of these publishers who are not affiliated with Microsoft, with Sony, with Nintendo, they had to buy or basically pay for a licensing fee in order to have their games put on the consoles. And instead of like, okay, we're just going to eat that because all these, here's our profits that they are with the games that cost this much, they were like, all right, we're just going to charge it to the customers to basically make up that licensing fee that is increased because of the increase in technology. We might see that again with the newer consoles because they skipped Xbox One and PS4. It had been industry standard for $60, so they were like, we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to introduce games going up $10 every, 6 years? Something like that. So they're like, you know what? We'll keep it. So they kept it.
I couldn't even tell you how much games cost like
I know.
in the 90s or 80s.
I don't know. But
I know growing up they were 50.
It feels weird thinking that where they were under $60.
I remember when they were 50.
I kind of do,
And
not as much.
I mean, DS games are always like 40.
Yeah, like it's kind of in our memories how much they cost before the $60, like them costing 50.
But usually it's
But
been
it's been 60 for so long.
I mean, I
in
got
our,
family members that are not very big into games that are like, how much is it? Like 60 bucks?
yeah.
I'm like,
And-
yeah.
which I mean, we're not going to go all the way back and like, how much did the first video games cost? We don't care. They had computers the size of rooms back in the day, so I'm not going to.
Back in your day.
Back in my day, back in the old days, I'm not going to touch that.
Do not ever do that again.
I will not.
Literally don't ever.
will
I will
not.
pay you $60 to never do that again.
So the process of why that happens, like what nobody's probably asking this, but why games cost $60? Why when I go to a store, is it $60? Why is it sometimes it's $59.99? Why is it sometimes, okay, these are $55 even though that's a new game? Or why it's, it could be even more. More is usually for deluxe editions or you get something extra with
Yeah,
it.
there's more bang for your buck
Yes.
kind of thing.
So publishers, when they make a game or are going to release a game, developers make games, publishers publish games. Publishers can also make games.
So developers develop.
Publishers publish. I know.
Marketers market.
Pretty sure.
And gamers game.
I don't know anything about that, so you're gonna have to ask somebody who knows about marketing. Sure. We'll go.
I know
with
how to market myself.
We'll go marketers market.
Because sex sells, baby.
There you go. So publishers, when they want to publish a game, they're like, okay, we have to talk to the retailers because we're not going to sell it. That will come later when they develop their own digital stores. But they're like, I'm not
you, Epic.
Yeah. We're not.
They were like, let's just fuck the middleman.
Yeah. We'll do it ourselves.
Smart.
But the thing is that digital stores make all the money because they don't have to pay retailers like a GameStop, like a Best Buy, like an EB Games, which is still a thing.
EB Games, I think in Canada.
It's a thing in Canada. Okay. Well, you Canadians who are shopping at EB Games, enjoy. I guess.
I don't know, maybe.
I always thought they were the same thing.
Either Canada, either Canada or Australia. I think it's like very.
It's something
similar.
I thought it was just games like the discount GameStop or something like that.
Yeah,
or like foreign GameStop.
I mean,
because they're both red and white, so I was like, "That's GameStop, but from a different country."
Didn't we used to have an EB Games here?
I think so. I don't know.
I
honestly don't know what it looks like.
No, we did because we had what was called a KB Toys. That was on the lower
KB
level.
Toys, yeah.
That went away, but we had so where we live, our local mall has
KB and EB should hang out.
Our local mall used to have 2 GameStops.
Yeah.
And I remember at a point in like quarter-mile radius, there were 4 GameStops.
Yeah.
So we had the one here by my apartment, 2 in the mall, and then one across the Barnes & Noble.
Yes.
They closed the Barnes & Noble one, kept the one here on Holmes, and then closed one of the ones in the mall. Yeah. But I remember, so there was a GameStop on the upper level, EB Games on the lower level, and I think GameStop bought out EB Games,
which is
so they had that lower one, and it kind of frustrated me that when they actually did close one of those stores, they closed the lower level one because that one had a lot more space, and I'm very claustrophobic, so I hate going to the one in the mall because
it's a narrow aisle. Yeah,
it literally is like a fucking conveyor belt line. Like you walk in, you just grab games, and then you just turn around and walk to the register, and then out.
Yeah, so. Again, back to the point.
Sorry,
it's okay. No,
I miss EB Games and I miss the downstairs GameStop.
We miss you, EB Games, and Karen. I miss Karen.
Come back, Karen.
Come back. I mean, I just got a job at EB Games. Come back. But
we're moving to Montana, or not Montana. We're moving to Montreal.
So publishers need to publish games. Yes. When they talk to retailers, they're like, "Okay, hey,
you retail.
Here, sell our game. We'll give you a small cut of the whatever game you sell.
Fair.
But it has to be a range. So it's a range.
Right.
Please sell your game between this much and this much. Because if
it's something legal, isn't it?
Yes. And I'm going to get into it. So price fixing. Do you know what that is?
I do know what price fixing is.
Yes. So
I see where this is going.
You're not allowed to have all of the big heads in the industry are not allowed to just determine, hey, regardless of demand, regardless of whatever, all of our things are this price. It has to,
be competitive.
It has to spur competition. Okay, but I want to give a sale on mine or a deal, even though I paid for them or I'm getting whatever cut. I want to make sure that people will come to me instead of come to, the one they know better because everything's the same price. So no price fixing. But the Supreme Court said, technically it's not price fixing because not all games are $60 or the same price.
That's very true.
So if you buy like Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy,
it was like 40 when it came out.
It was like $40, or like you can buy a game that comes out at 35.
But you look at places like recently Walmart and Amazon have been doing it where it's like, hey, it's 50.
Yeah, so that's how they get around it by saying, and it's a genius argument. That's like, yeah, most games are $60. But not all games are $60. And they're like, well, okay, you got
Look, we're not saying that you have to set a price, but if you don't fucking set it to $60, I swear to God.
And that's the thing. So publishers, they're like, all right, retailer, GameStop, for example, please sell our game at this price. If you sell it cheaper.
Please don't sell it used.
Well, if you sell it cheaper, you're going to get the stock of this this new game very late. You're going to get it like 2 weeks after it comes out or something.
It's like a hostage situation.
That's what they can do. They're like, all right, well, you're going to get these games very late then. And you're going to be behind the 8 ball of all these other guys who are selling it. It's
very mobster-like.
It is.
I didn't think I could love the video game industry anymore.
I don't think it's...
I mean, it's fucked up, but...
I don't think it's legal to do that.
Well,
just to like withhold
but how can you
somebody?
Catch them? Like, sorry, UPS fucked up or whatever.
But it is like a technically contractual negotiation thing where it's like, all right, this is the range you can sell at. If you go at this lower range, it's up to us to
it's probably similar. It's probably similar to like those major gaming sites where they have review embargoes. So it's like, hey, Monday before the game comes out, you can publish a review. If you do it beforehand, we're just not selling you copies. Sending you copies. Yeah, you got to wait till it comes out and buy it like everybody else.
What it is, because retailers get such a small cut of the new games that come out. They get a lot. That's kind of why GameStop, you see why they're like pushing used games.
Well, that's how they make their money. 100% of it. Yes. GameStop probably doesn't even. I don't think GameStop gets any money.
The publishers get $0 from used game sales. Retailers get not zero, but they get a limited amount from new games.
Correct.
Which is why you always see people pushing for used games at GameStop, or there's a bunch of deals for buying pre-owned games.
Well, yeah, because GameStop gets 100%. It would be like if I made this game for, say, the iPhone, and I said, Andy, I'm going to give this to you for $5.
Yeah.
You pay me $5, but then you're like, I'm going to give it to Bob for $6. I don't get a cut of that $6.
I get that.
Right.
Yeah. So it's actually interesting.
That's how GameStop stays in business.
That's how, they need some help. So somebody help GameStop.
I'm trying to help them, but I don't make that much money. Honestly, look, we can talk about GameStop another day. I like GameStop.
GameStop's fine. Yeah. I haven't had a problem with it, but there are pushy people who are like, that's their business model. They need to push used games.
Yeah.
They need to.
It's a store by store thing.
I know. Right. They need to stay away from new games because we don't make a ton of money from it. So the publisher even the publisher. So games have, obviously you can't really understand how much a game costs because it's always like, you got to pay the 200 people that make it. And then the developer has to have all these licensing.
If you've got voice acting, you got to pay the voice actors, the graphic designers,
all this other stuff. And the publisher is like, okay, we're going to sell this game. You have a whatever budget. Fine. Here's a cut. Because developers, either they are work for hire, meaning you get paid to make the game, you don't own the game. So you make it, here's $200,000 up front. Split it, however you're going to split it. Or it's obviously higher values because they're going to make millions.
But it's essentially like, here's your pay, we'll give you the money for and the resources.
Make the thing, you don't own it, we own it. Okay. Or they are negotiated
a rate. I'm actually kind of learning along.
Or they are negotiated a rate. They're like, all right, here's the rate per game, per sale, per whatever, negotiated in a contract that once, you better hope we sell a bunch. Like, you better hope it's a good game because you haven't made any money yet. We haven't sold any. Like, it's either that or it's an indie studio that publishes it itself. That's like, all right, we don't need Microsoft, Sony, whatever to publish it. We're just going to put it out ourselves and pocket all of the money that we would get.
Well, I think they still have to pay a fee to Microsoft or Sony for
those are the people who have to pay the console licensing fees because they aren't.
Because you don't get 100%
publishing
profit.
It with Microsoft, Sony themselves.
Yeah, you don't get 100% profit.
And they're indie games, so they probably have smaller budgets.
No, but I'm talking
limited marketing.
Are you talking about having Sony publish it, or are you talking about like making it yourself, publishing it yourself, but like putting it on their storefront? Because when you put it on their storefront, they still take a cut of that.
They do, but I'm saying because you need to have a licensing fee to have that game available on a console, unless you make your own console. So
Soulja Boy did it.
He did. Which, that's an issue for another time. But so publishers, they get to kind of set everything. They set how much the developers makes. They sell how much the retailers sell it for. They kind of determine how this thing goes, which makes sense because they are the ones with the giant pockets who can determine that stuff. It's kind of their reputation on the line. It's their consoles. It's their systems that you are making these games for. So they kind of are like, all right, we're going to control the market. It's kind of a monopoly, not really, but it just, okay, Supreme Court said it's fine. So that's kind of how it's $60. The publishers have just determined, okay, we're going to lump on that $10 to the $50 that it was previously because that's how much licensing fees are. So we're just going to charge that a little bit more. Just with everything increasing.
So instead of splitting the 60 between where the parties,
they could have made it like $2.
No, but I'm saying
let's just make it 10.
But that $60, it's not actually 60 being split amongst everybody. It's just the 10 is the licensing. The 50 is everybody else.
So it's very difficult to determine because it's not like, okay, per $60. It's all right. These licensing fees are $200,000 of our budget.
Right.
It equates down to about a couple bucks a game, but it's like the licensing fees themselves are getting so high in terms of like $500,000 now instead of $200,000 that we need to tack on $10 per game, if that makes sense to you.
A little bit.
Okay. Like these are, in terms of per game numbers, is easier for us to understand because it's like, oh, they make $6 of that per game. Of the $60, $7 of it goes towards licensing fees. But in reality, it's okay, we had to pay $200,000 more for the licensing fee because they're all getting more expensive, and that equated to $7 per game, which is, these are also averages. So it's all math, it's all calculated out. But the publishers determine a range, the retailers sell it at the range, but after the fees and all the people they got to pay, like you got to pay to stock shelves full of discs. You're like, all right, put these on discs, put these discs in cases, put these cases with our graphics on them, our instruction manuals and stuff. Put these on shelves in stores.
Was the last time you saw an instruction manual?
True.
That's how they're cutting costs.
I'm saying that they probably cut them out because like nobody reads them, which I have never read an instruction manual in my life.
That is when everybody always asks me, what did you do in the bathroom the day before smartphones? I always tell them instruction manuals. Well, yeah, I would just grab them from any favorite game of mine, sit on the toilet. I remember when I got Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind.
Damn.
That was a thick instruction manual.
They were very big.
Yeah, it had a map and everything.
But at a certain point,
when I would take bathroom breaks from the game, I read the lore.
It's just
I was so wrapped up in the politics of Morrowind that I was about to just assassinate someone for my own political game.
The ones with the giant instruction manuals with lore in it were actually interesting. I might have read some. I'm just saying I don't remember reading any.
I think even the original like Fallout 3 even had a pretty lengthy one.
But your average instruction manual didn't have anything, but it's like, here's what A does. Here's what B does.
Nowadays it's like, I think the most recent game that I bought,
they just put it in a tutorial.
They put that, but they also put in like a little thing. It's like, hey, if you're photosensitive, it's like,
yeah, well, it's warnings. But at a certain,
I'm not epileptic, so this doesn't relate to me.
But that's how they save money. So at the end of the day, these $60 that a game costs that the consumers are paying is not what a publisher gets. At the end of the day, they get about half of that. So
did they do all the hard work though?
They published the game,
but they didn't develop the game.
They did not. Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they develop and publish.
Yes, but obviously they're not doing all of the work. That's why all the people that
all the publisher is essentially doing is just slapping their logo on and saying, hey, you know us.
But it's their consoles, and they're paying the fees, they're doing all this other stuff.
It's not always their consoles.
I know, but they're doing a job that means they have to give money to other people. Sure. So they're not getting 100% of the $60 that they get. Some are. The indie games that develop, publish, all that other stuff, they get that money. So they're like, all right, cool, we get more of this. But they are not a big studio, so they are not pushing out millions upon millions of units. So the budgets of games matter. So how big your game is and how much it costs really has an impact on what you're going to be able to do and how much you need to make. Because some budgets for games can get up into the $100 million, $200 million. So there's a list on Wikipedia of the highest cost games of all time. Grand Theft Auto 5 is obviously number one.
Yeah, I was going to say that
$265 million.
That cost a ton.
Adjusted for inflation, $291 million.
I remember at the time, the first Shenmue game that came out was the most expensive to be developed.
Yeah. Modern Warfare 2 is another one that's second on the list. $250 million. Oh, yeah. 298 adjusted for inflation because of when that came out. Star Citizen, I think, is hilarious because there's just a question mark and it's plus because it's still being developed. Whenever that, because it hasn't, it's still being worked on. It's still like being 2011. Yeah, so it's like it's 249 plus because they haven't been done. It's not done yet. Star Wars: The Old Republic had a 200 plus budget. That's still going, I think.
Halo 2,
Destiny, Halo 2. Like you can imagine how big these games are, and that's so they need to make that back in order to have.
Why didn't anyone tell me Enter the Matrix cost 20 million?
I know. Like, wow. So you think about these games, they have to make.
Enter the Matrix cost more than The Witcher 3 and was about
not 16th
of the fun.
Yeah.
It was still fun.
I know, but like these
cost more than Mass Effect. Let's take a look at the games that cost less than Enter the Matrix.
Okay. There it is. Okay. Enter the Matrix.
Gears of War 3, Half-Life 2,
Crisis 3,
World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 9,
LA Noire, which is interesting. World of Warcraft costs less.
Yeah.
Which these games, you can kind of get the size. Not all games are like that. Not all games are $40+ million. I'd say the average is probably 30. It's like been going up as technology, as the cost of everything just increases. It's probably around 25, 30, $35 million on average.
Well, and you factor in for a lot of those.
Indies go bring it down. Bigger games bring it up.
Well, when you factor in for a lot of those like series, a lot of the character models, stuff like that, a lot of that.
Once you make one, you can kind of make two.
Well, most of that they can bring over. It's like mobile gaming, for example, is such a cheap market to get into in terms of how much it costs to develop something.
Yeah.
I actually read an article where somebody worked for a mobile gaming company. He was a developer there, and he was like, yeah, we churned out like 4 or 5 games in the span of like 2 years.
Yeah.
And he's like, literally what we did was we just took the exact same source code from one game, moved it to the other game, and we just had somebody come in and just
a different thing on
change the graphics and the text and stuff like that. He was like, we did not have to build a new game from the ground up. It's the same. That's why all those clicker games are the exact fucking
same. Which is why people can pump out phone games like crazy.
Exactly.
But
and it's always that same image of the dude screaming.
Yeah. Which is very funny to see all of those games like that.
And it's all by the same fucking developer.
Yes, it is. But the point is that, so the $60 that you pay as a consumer, that goes to the publisher and other people, among, licensing fees, paying the developers maybe, because paying the retailers, paying the licensing fees, all that other stuff, $60 is not their profit. We'll take just on average, so it's 30, 35 million, we'll say that. A $30 million game, so that budget, in order to make that back, based on the $60 consumer buying it, they need to sell 500,000 copies. But cut that in half, so now you're at 1 million. You need to sell 1 million just to break even.
Yeah.
And
which a lot of those AAA games do.
They do.
Call of Duty typically will
sells like 30 million copies. They have nothing to...
I wouldn't say that much.
I think they sell like 20 something. They probably sold like recently, probably like 10 or 12 million.
But still,
which is why if these games cost $100 million and they're only making half of what people pay for them, that's why they're like, well, shit, we got to figure this out, because nobody's buying our games anymore. And we're starting to get to that point of we're only breaking even. We're not making a ton of money, because these little studios, they can't make money if they can't sell the units.
Right. So well, like Grand Theft Auto 5. We need to sell
all of these units because we don't get all this money.
What was Grand Theft Auto 5? Like $265 million. Yeah, but they also sold within the first
shitload.
24 hours. Selling. Within the first day, they sold 11 million copies.
Yeah. Like games like that have, which that's not the first Grand Theft Auto. I'm sure the first Grand Theft Auto budget might have been a little bit, okay, are we going to make it? Are we going to break even and start to be in the black,
right,
as it were? Whereas like Destiny, they had a huge developer with a reputation and a good publisher behind them that's like, hey, we're going to try to get your game out and we're going to hype it up and people are going to love it. These indie studios, it's really tough because they're a game that nobody's really heard of, nobody really plays, and they need to, but the budget was kind of high. I always loved Brutal Legend. It was a great game. Double Fine, pretty good studio, I think. But
Brutal Legend was one of those like financial flops.
They had to pay Jack Black to voice act in it, which was great. I don't blame Jack Black for the game. He was great. The game was fun. It's just nobody heard of it. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted to play as a old roadie who went in this fantasy world and his weapon was his axe, his guitar, which was cool. I thought it was dope because it also had Jack Black in it, but nobody cared. So they
had to pay a shit ton of money to get Jack Black. And you don't just say, hey man, here's like $2,000. Can you be our main character? You're paying him millions of dollars.
And there are other fees that they had to pay, and the animator or the graphic designers, the animators, all that other stuff. And then so their budget ended up being like $25-30 million. They didn't make that back. So then that sets a company like that so far back because now they have to make smaller, not as in-depth games when we all want as many kind of, little features, more bigger worlds, more characters, more stuff to do, more development, all that other stuff. And then we complain about games like, oh, there's nothing to it. It's a small game. This took me like 2 hours to beat. And I'm like, nope. But this cost them $7 million to make. So the fact that more people need to buy this, and indie games, they can't really get away with charging $60. Some can, but a fair amount of them can't, because they're like, nobody's going to pay $60 for this game because we need to make our money back. We need to make a move that's like, all right, charge $35 for it because people will buy it at $35. They'll play it. We can make our money back. And if we make a little bit more, we can kind of take a little bit more of a chance on the next game. That's why you better hope that you do well enough and people just love, like Rocket League. You better hope people love the hell out of your game and are continuing to play it, which we do. We love Rocket League. Great game. That you either make enough money that it's like, shit, we can do whatever the hell we want, or you get so much attention that you get bought. And you're like, we don't even need to care.
Like Minecraft.
We don't even, like, even Psyonix got bought. Yeah. The guys who made Rocket League got bought by Microsoft. They're like, cool. We made a good enough impression on people that they wanted to buy us and pay basically for everything. And then we have a bigger budget. So that's why you kind of have to get it right. That's why not every game succeeds. And that is why you're paying $60 for a game. And that's why you shouldn't complain that you're paying $60 for a game, because it kind of matters. If you want your studios to exist, buy new games. Buy them at $60. If you care more about retailers, buy used games.
Well, and the big thing is too, is they have to, the reason why they set it at that $60 is because within the first couple of weeks, they want to try to just get as many people to buy.
And then it's going to be down
significantly. Because you saw that like with Wolfenstein 2.
Yeah.
Came out $60, and then the very first Black Friday was like, hey, get 30. It for 25.
Yeah.
30. Yeah.
Like that's the weird thing.
But there's going to be a lot of those diehard fans that are like, I love the Wolfenstein series, I will pay 60.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be other people that are like, I'll wait them, but
yeah, I'll wait till it's on sale. That's bonkers the way video games work. Your car, when you buy it, it depreciates as soon as it gets off the lot. But
it still has value.
It's not, you lose half of your car's value when you leave. Video games, it could be the game is out. A year later, people are paying, like Anthem, $5 for it.
It's not even a year old, yeah.
It's not even a year old, and people are paying $5. If it's,
even look at Destiny 1 and 2.
Those got cheap, like, and they're not gonna go back. You can get them
for like $2.
Yeah, they're not gonna go back.
And now Destiny 2 is free to play.
And if you want a game from like 3 years ago, pay like $4, less than that. Like it's just.
It's only like when you
strange like that.
It's only when you go like deeper.
Yeah. Well, old school games higher. that they're not making anymore. Literally, like they don't make N64 games ever. But if you want Mario Kart 64, you're gonna get it for super high rates because this was a game everybody loved, everybody wants, but nobody's gonna be able to find. So it's like, oh well, I got the only copy. It's in mint condition. It still plays pretty great, but I'm gonna charge you $50 for it. And I'm like, that's insanity. Like charging that much for a game that isn't really that intense, isn't really that in-depth. It's just Mario Kart or Super Mario 64. Like it's nostalgia, it's old school stuff, it's how many years old. But I remember playing that game as a kid. I'm not gonna pay $55.
I mean, Nintendo already made a shit ton of money just on fucking the Wii and Wii Sports.
And
alone.
they can emulate it for $30 and people are still gonna buy it just because they love it so much. It's just video games have such a strange quality that even a month from a game, you can see it lose $25 of value from it.
Or some games like Anthem, it's within the first like 2 hours. Or you lose
it all. And it's like, this is a $60 game. If it loses $30, that's half of its value after a month. Like that's insanity almost. Because like your car, it maybe loses like $1,000 once you take it, but it's still a $30,000 car. Right. That means nothing. Like if you went back and sold it to somebody, you can probably get close to it because it's a brand new car. It's just insane. But now there's a whole big problem compared to free-to-play games. They are kind of messing with the model.
Well, because they figured out how to get rich quick.
Yeah, because they're making boku bucks on this shit. And they're like, all right, everybody's charging $60. This is kind of a judo move. It's like, all right, you're charging $60 for a game. That's industry standard. That's fine.
But what if we make it free and they just pay us $60 whenever they want?
Stuff. But they don't know that they're paying $60. They're just paying that $60 over the year that they're playing the game.
Or more because they don't have impulse control.
They can only understand $2 at a time. They don't understand that if they buy 60 things worth $1, that's $60.
Yep.
And
I've played FIFA Ultimate Team.
Yeah.
I know.
Like these games are like, well, EA is doing us dirty because they're like, you got to pay $60, and then if you want all the extra shit, you got to pay. But these free-to-play games, which are, we said in the last episode, AAA titles. They're big. Yeah. They're big. They're huge. They're making tons of money. They're just cash cows because they're like, everybody's buying these games. All the stuff in this games, they're not paying for the game. They're paying for the stuff in it that's extra that they can use and be the envy of all of their friends, which that kind of disrupts the model. I think you're either going to see everybody going free to play and just like, that's the game. We're going to update the hell out of it for the next few years. And then like the chapter 2 or the sequel or the whatever is going to come out in a couple of years once we've milked you dry. But then here's some other stuff we could come up with.
Right.
That's going to either going to be the model, or games are going to go up to like $65, $70. I think 65. I think 70 is a little bit much. I think 65 they can get away with. They can be like, all right, we can use the extra money.
That's when GameStop comes back, baby.
I'm just saying, like it. I think it. What do you think? I think it's going to increase. I don't think it's ever going to go down because things are just getting too expensive.
No, it definitely won't go down. But I mean, I think $60 is like that sweet spot. And then
it kind of feels like one.
When you think about it too, even the games like you mentioned with EA, you know, you're still selling these games for $60, yeah. And then you have all these different microtransactions within them. I remember I picked up on Black Friday from GameStop. I was like, I've never played a Far Cry before, and I've heard great things about Far Cry 5.
Yeah, it's a great game.
In Far Cry 5, you can earn in-game money to purchase things in the game.
Yeah.
Much like, you know, every other game, like outfits for your character. You can also spend real-world money to get silver to buy those exact same things.
Which is kind of redundant.
But there are people out there that are like, I don't want to fucking wait to buy this item.
And you can get more of it by buying it instead of grinding away at it.
There was like one car that was worth like $7,000 or like 2,700 silver.
Yeah.
And it was, do I want to spend
way easier
$2 or $3 to get this car, or do I want to spend 2 or 3 hours getting the money?
Yeah.
Because money's scarce in that game.
Yes.
So I think they'll keep it at 60, but there's going to be, because I mean, think about it.
So then you're everyone's going free to play then.
No, but like the games that are 60, that are those AAA titles, Red Dead 2, GTA 5,
the big guys,
Call of Duty,
big fish.
Those will, for the most part, always sell enough units to break
whatever
even,
the cost is,
and then make a profit. You know,
it's the littler games.
But those ones, they don't spend as much. Like indie titles don't really spend as much in terms of budget, developing, marketing, all that.
So you're saying it eventually evens out to where everybody's all right.
Yeah, and indie titles also kind of have that luxury of, like, Xbox, for example, has taken a strong stance on being pro indie games.
True.
You know,
to the point where they're probably giving them a break. Like they're buying indie developers.
Right. Like you made a couple cool, cheap games, but it's like, hey, what would happen if we just gave you a shit ton of money?
Here's a little bit. And then you can kind of fail if you want to. Like you can make a game that not necessarily breaks even. We'll cover that because we want to.
Because a lot of those indie games, they don't cost a lot to develop, they don't cost a lot to purchase, but they spread quickly based on word of mouth. When you think about AAA games,
it's a community.
Those are games that have been a word of mouth game for decades.
Bethesda's making a new game, absolutely.
Everybody knows what Fallout is. Everybody knows what GTA is. Everybody, you know, that's Minecraft true. Even. Like I can't walk past the fucking elementary school. Not that I do it often.
We like Fortnite.
I'm saying, you know.
Yeah. Which so I guess that is.
That's if a company, I mean, fuck it, dude, even Call of Duty, for example, like say if their recent titles are not doing so hot and they feel like they can't break even, fucking COD points.
That's true.
You know, somebody out there has a problem where they're purchasing like way too many COD points because they're like, oh, fuck, working for all these camos. I just want
to skip it all and not have to work for it.
Yeah.
Which that is it's a brilliant move, but I hate it.
Yeah,
it's such a brilliant thing that's like, okay,
I'm not
people
gonna lie to
don't want to have to struggle and do this shit or actually earn these things. So let's give them a battle pass that's like, you can't earn any of this. Okay, here you go. You can't earn any of this. Okay, here you go. After 20 levels.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Or the battle pass where you get one every single level.
When I was playing that Wordament game for the achievements, one of the things was like you had to like level up your account.
Yeah.
And you could get double XP if you paid a monthly fee of like $2. I only paid it once, but I paid the $2 because I was like, instead of having to play this game for like 6 months, I can just get this done in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You know,
it's brilliant, but
that's what I'm saying. But so that's just one example of, and I'm done with that game. It's off my phone. Yeah. I got the 1,000 out of 1,000, but still I paid the $2 because I was like, hey, this is going to speed me.
It's worth it.
Yeah. It's going to speed it up. But Call of Duty is going to have that where it's like, hey, here's your free battle pass. Right. And then here's the paid one. Pay us $10.
Yeah, because I was even playing Call of Duty. I'm like, wait, why didn't I unlock that? It's like, because I'm on the free. Right. And I get one every 10 levels.
And then Black Ops 4, I remember, because I haven't played Modern Warfare in a while, but I remember Black Ops 4 had it where it was you paid for the more expensive pass.
Yeah. Which gets you more stuff.
But then you could also pay to jump ahead.
Skip levels.
So if you
can do that all the time.
Because there are a lot of people that play a lot of Call of Duty.
60 levels.
And and they get very close to the end, but there's only 2 days left. And they're like, I have this party. Here's some will be like, fuck it, here's 40. I really wanted that gun, or I really wanted that character.
I'm going to buy 600 packs in Madden and open them all and hopefully get a superstar.
So when you look at a game like Call of Duty, you just spent $60. And then you also spent another $60 on their currency.
Yeah.
You gave them $120, but then that breaks down into that currency is only split between the storefront and the developer.
The storefront is all
and probably publisher.
Yeah. The Madden.
But you're cutting out the retailer points. Unless if you go to a retailer and
that's
buy
right. All digital sales, all microtransactions, all extra stuff you buy from the game goes right to them.
Because I still think like they should have done something. Sony did it for a while. Xbox is doing a little bit better with their rewards program, but I remember for a while Sony did it with the trophies.
Yeah.
Where if you earned like a certain amount of trophies, they would give you a certain amount of rewards points that would equate into, you could convert this into money.
Nice. Yeah.
And Sony stopped doing that.
Because people were probably earning a bunch of stuff and making a bunch of, I don't have to buy this. What did Siri want?
Gave me some search result. I don't know why I thought I was talking to him, but
I don't know. It's just I think it's either going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be, all right, everything's 65 because these are new consoles that can handle 4K, that can handle all this other stuff.
That after tax, you're paying close to 70 though. Because if you think about it now, at least in the state of Wisconsin, you're paying like Milwaukee tax. You're paying like almost $64.
I know, but these consoles, they can do a whole lot, and gaming development is going to be like, all right, this console can wipe people's asses. We need to make some games that really kick ass on this thing. We are spending a ton of money. $60 just isn't cutting it anymore for how much it costs to make these, how much it costs to market them.
That's what microtransactions are for.
But not all games can do that. A Jedi Fallen Order can't do microtransactions.
Absolutely they can.
Really?
Oh, fuck yeah, they can. But are you serious?
I'm saying not every game can do that.
Do you want to play through this game? What do you think DLC is?
That's
DLC is essentially a microtransaction.
DLC. I know, but microtransactions are cosmetic stuff that it's like, here, it doesn't matter. We're just going to give it to you DLC. For $1.
Persona 5 did that. Where
DLC is like, here's a whole new part of this game for like $10.
No. Persona 5 did that where they said, hey, here's DLC, and it was just costume packs for your character.
Okay. Well, then never mind.
You could get like 50 costumes for like $20.
But I'm saying not every game has that or is going to have that. So at a certain point, they're going to say, all right, because even looking at the numbers, they're going to say, okay, everyone is paying $60 a game because we told the retailers to do that. That's us. That's our decision. We told them to pay $60 or charge $60 for the game, or we're going to fuck them and not give them our stock. But it turns out we could be making a whole lot more money because the costs of this development has been going way up. And these consoles can handle so much stuff that costs just go way up. All right, what is an extra $5 onto every game equal? Oh, covers it instantly? Done. Because things are just going to only get more expensive, but that's just life. That's not the publisher's fault. That's our country. That's our society. That's our world. Things will cost more money as they develop more, as they increase in either size, quality, value, whatever, or ease of use, whatever. Things are going to cost more money. So they're going to like, okay, we need to make up that money because now we were making X amount of dollars per year and now we're making less than that.
I think they're making it in a lot more ways than we're actually talking about. Microtransactions is just scratching the surface, but you think about gear, you think about merchandise, like all this other shit.
Turning it into a movie with movie rights and all that other stuff. But
I don't know why you'd ever do that, but I mean, fuck it, you got money, right?
There are certain ways in which we won't have to deal with that. But I am hard pressed to believe that $60 is the end. Because at a certain point, it's so easy to say, okay, it's been 20 years. Games are $65 now. We need to pay a lot more people. Things are cost a lot more money. It's $65.
Minimum wage hasn't changed in 10 years.
I know, but I'm just saying they'll take
maybe that's when games will cost more. Maybe when the price
to make them.
Because I mean, realistically,
now they got to pay all their minimum wage employees.
But realistically, if you think about it, like minimum wage, maybe this contributes to it, but it hasn't gone up in 10 years. It's been $7.25.
Might have some, because if you think about it, they probably have some minimum wage employees.
If they increased the minimum wage to say, if they increased the minimum wage to say $10. Think about how many more people, like ourselves, would be like, oh, we're making more money. Oh, I'm going to spend more on video games. So then, yeah, at that point, I would say, yes, they're going to capitalize.
I would think like give 15, them a reason to think it's okay.
Like, I'm not trying to get political or anything, but think about the whole like fight for 15, where they want to get $15 an hour.
People can afford
it. They're naturally going to spend more money, and they're going to sit there and they're going to capitalize on that. Absolutely. Because they're going to be like, oh, well, you're making literally double what you're making before. Here's a $70 Call of Duty. I know it's the same as every single year, but if you want Call of Duty, you got to pay $70.
That's not a reason why they have to. It's a reason why they can, because people can pay for it. Which I think that's why they didn't Xbox One, PS4.
Here's more dances in Fortnite.
Yeah. Here's 17 more skins. I think that's why
here's 2 battle passes.
That's why
one season.
That's why they didn't increase it for Xbox One, PS4. They're like, we've only had $60 games for 10 years.
15. Since 2005. It's 2020, man.
Well, no, I'm saying when the Xbox One and PS4 came out. They're like, because with Xbox 360 and PS3, they kind of increased it. They're like, all right, it's been a while. $60 games. Technology has increased to where we need to pay a lot more money in licensing and all this other stuff. When PS4 and Xbox One came out, they're like, it's too soon. They're not making enough money. We're going to lose because so many people are like, yeah, I'll fuck that. I'll wait till there's a sale. And then they get less money, and so does everybody else. So they're like, fuck, we need to make sure that people buy these like upfront. We cannot have people wait, because people will wait, they'll get a sale, and then we're going to make less money. So they're like, all right, $60, leave it. But now they're like, okay, things are costing a little bit more. People have a little bit more money. Let's put it up to 65. I think it goes 65. I don't think it goes 70.
I mean, they'll probably just say fuck it and go 70.
I don't think so. I think 65
but then you're also looking at now that all the special editions that cost like 80, 90
will cost 110 or something.
10, $20 more, yeah.
It's just an interesting thing to see. Like, I learned a lot from actually doing this research in terms of how games are priced and why they're like that. It's also interesting to see that you get a range, but everybody picks 60 just because the games are like, publishers are like, yeah, you better do 60.
Think about it. You don't want to be Walmart where your biggest competitor is Target, and it's like, oh, Target has the new Call of Duty, but like, I guess we have to wait another fucking week.
We get it 2 weeks from now. So they make 2 weeks worth of sales, which is, in terms of video games, the first week, like you said in Grand Theft Auto,
the first day,
11 million copies.
Yeah.
So if you can't sell that, you don't get the money.
Well, and like before, like digital games became like a big ass thing.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare 2, when it came out, I remember the midnight release, going back to how we had 4 GameStops in a quarter-mile radius. All 4 had lines out the door and around buildings.
I know.
I didn't even know that there were that many people in our fucking city
that wanted to play Call of Duty. Yeah.
Not even wanted to play Call of Duty. That there were that many people in our city. I was like, we have a population of like under 40,000, and they were all there buying Call of Duty.
All wanted to buy Call of Duty.
Here's 40K sales, like done.
So in the end of this, we just want to hope you learned something. We did. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we learned a lot.
I taught Amar a lot.
Yeah.
I learned it by researching, but
I'm just going to go ahead and say I knew all of this already.
The main lesson we're trying to convey to you guys is,
yes, it's not free.
Games are $60 right now. They weren't before. Publishers are kind of in charge of that. They need to make the most money possible in order to have your games that you love continue to be existing in this world, for them, the publishers and the developers that you like, to continue to do what they want to do. You kind of have to bite the bullet. You kind of have to say, okay, You determine the price, whatever it is, I'll pay it. Yes, you can wait for a sale, which is fine. They're still getting paid. But don't be mad if you want a game and it's $60. I'm never mad. I'm like, you know what? I've accepted it. That's the price. I know what the money is going towards. Now you kind of know. Now it's going a lot of places. It's going to the developer. It's going to the retailer. It's going to the people that actually put the games on the shelves in terms of physical disc in case on wall. Like it's going to a lot of people in to the publisher as well. Publishers like EA and all those other people, they are kind of seen as villains, but they need to make money as well. Because if they stop, your games stop.
Yeah.
GameStop. Get it?
GameStop. Stop selling me broken used games.
Yeah. And then
just fucking don't.
Retailers, which also buy used games, if it's a game that, don't go to Amazon. If you're going to buy a used game, go to GameStop.
I didn't even know you could. I guess, yeah. I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
You can buy used stuff on Amazon. But go to GameStop. They make all their money on used games. They also make some on new games, but they make a lot more on used
Somebody's just going to be in the comments like, within the first 10 minutes, once we say games, fuck GameStop, blah, 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 the circle of life trading program bullshit. It's like,
we don't care how much.
Unplug that second keyboard.
Is so much different than buying a game. Don't trade in your games at GameStop. Trade them in at Amazon.
Well, so here's
buy them at GameStop.
So here's my like a little side note. I'm not going to get too much into a tangent.
Tons of time. Go ahead.
I get a ton of people complain about, GameStop gives you $5 for all this shit. Yes.
Yeah.
But because you're going for cash, I personally have never had an issue with GameStop's trade-in program
for the credit
when I'm trading in for credit towards another game, because I understand supply and demand. Yeah. If I come in with a copy of fucking King Kong for Xbox 360, I know a lot of people aren't lining up to buy this. They're not going to
be able to sell it back to anybody.
Right, because the only people that are playing King Kong for the Xbox 360 are people like myself, achievement whores.
Yeah.
But nobody's going out there and be like, man, King Kong was a great movie. I wish it was a video game.
King Kong. I'm going to go buy it. I'm going to go see if GameStop has a copy of King Kong.
For whatever reason, Cars 2 is still like $30.
Which that's a GameFly story.
No. I'm even at GameStop. It's like $20, $30 for a used copy. I know, but
you mentioned Cars 2 at GameFly in the GameFly episode.
Cars 1.
Oh, that was Cars 1?
And
sorry.
Cars 1 was actually, that was through GameFly.
Yeah, you tried.
King Kong was through Blockbuster.
Okay.
Because Blockbuster for a while did their.
Blockbuster, man.
Blockbuster for a while did the game rental thing. I tried it out.
Yeah, they're great. They were great.
I had a better experience with Blockbuster than I did GameFly. I'll tell you that. Go. Within 2 days, I got my game.
But I mean, we aren't trying to be self-righteous or anything like that. We're all knowing, but at a certain point, games cost the way they do because it's a whole entire mathematical equation about how these companies can make money back while also not fucking you in the end. Because they could charge $100 for it. If you really want to play it, you got to pay $100. But they're like, you know what? $60. We're not pricing ourselves out where no one's going to buy it. But we're also trying to make money so we can make other games.
But also think of it this way. You're a fan of video games where you spend money on a form of entertainment and you get to take it home.
And play it for
and enjoy
20, 30
Doesn't
hours.
matter. You get to enjoy it in the comfort of your own home.
There you go.
I went and saw the new Star Wars. Paid $5 on a Tuesday. Pretty sure I stepped in something that wasn't gum.
Yeah. You don't actually have to go to a theater. You just play the game.
Right then and
there.
And
it's more entertainment, I think, than a movie. You get 60 hours of stuff. It's like
unless if you watch the same movie over and over for 60 hours, which people do.
I'm just saying, like you get a lot for your $60. You might not get the equivalent. It might be a game you finish in 7 hours if you play nonstop, or there's not a whole lot to do in it. But in that case, I mean, you still got a fulfilling experience of that. Games are $60. It might not be fair. It might not be great. You might think, okay, but if they bring it down to $50, more people would buy them. Yes, but they'd also make less money. Maybe if they sell the same amount of copies, they don't make as much money. That's a point. Companies need to make money in order to continue to be companies and grow. Yes, it's the kind of, well, these are just guys trying to pad their pockets. Yes. CEOs of companies make tons of money. Try it. It's great. We're trying to do that someday. But
one of these days,
if you guys want your video games to continue to be great and not, okay, we don't have the budget, so we're going to make this game over budget, because everybody is clamoring for all this stuff. They're not going to like it unless it has a battle royale mode in it. Okay, well then we're going to go under because we don't have enough money, or we're not going to make enough money from this, and we're a small studio. So it matters how your games are priced, how much you pay for them, where that money goes, how much of the budget is covered, how much these companies make, and how easily they can turn their budgets into profits to make newer games. So it's an all-in kind of an economical lesson just to learn how your games are priced, what matters, why you guys should care, and also why you shouldn't care. You shouldn't care that your games are $60. It's industry standard at this point. Just pay it. We're all used to it.
Just be done with it.
At a certain point, it's going to be 65, or it's going to be all free to play with microtransactions.
Which will be more than 65.
Yes. Then it's a certain point, they're getting your money anyway. Right. Nothing in this life is free that's enjoyable. At a certain point, there is some kind of cost, whether it be monetary, time, your attention. Just that's philosophical. I'm just saying nothing is free. And if you enjoy something very much, you should be willing to fork over a couple dollars for it.
Fair.
So
fair.
We hope you guys learned something. We hope you guys laughed. We weren't as funny, but
I thought we were pretty funny.
I thought we were okay. Make sure to check out the Twitter at BCG Podcast. Make sure to check out the Instagram at Board Certified Gaming Podcast. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/BCG Podcast.
Not the BCG Magazine podcast.
Check them out too. I'm sure they're great.
Right. But that's not us.
We don't know them. That's not us. We should get a magazine though, eventually.
You think so?
Maybe. Does anybody read magazines anymore?
I couldn't tell you the last time.
I have no idea. But just share this, like the videos, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are a YouTube user. Give us a rating, a review on Apple Podcasts, all these other podcast websites. We'd appreciate that. Tell your friends, tell your wives, tell your husbands, tell your mistresses and misters.
And tell Karen.
Tell Karen. I want her back.
Come back, baby.
Okay. I'm going to keep having to hashtag come back Karen. We got to make sure that she sees it and comes back. She's not going to, but
BCG goes CBK.
There you go.
Come back, Karen.
We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.